Life advice that's twice as nice. This is the Wish You Had Dad. I am John Gafford, and today we're going to talk about leasing cars. Now, what is a lease? A lease is different than a purchase because with a purchase, you actually own the vehicle. And a lease, you are essentially just renting it. Now, how they calculate a lease is very simple. You negotiate the top line price for the car. You still have to negotiate the price of the car. Then the dealership or the lease company is going to estimate, they're going to look into their crystal ball and guess into the future and try to figure out what the car is going to be worth in 3 to 5 years, however long the lease term is. Now they set a value for what they think the car is going to be worth then, and then you are paying the difference between the purchase price and that. That amount is essentially the value of your lease. Now people go, yay, I don't have to pay any interest on that. Well, not so fast, because they have something called a money factor. The money factor is essentially the interest rate you're paying on that difference that you're paying down. Now, will this be cheaper than monthly payments if you own the vehicle? Absolutely it will, but you got to be careful of a couple of things. With a lease, number one, you have no ownership. You're essentially just renting the car from the dealership. So, yeah, your payments are going to be less, but you could be a little bit stuck. Here's the problem. Should the dealership have estimated the price wrong on the end? Let's say they estimated it too high. Well, now you're always going to be underwater with that car because a lot of people don't realize you can trade in out of a lease. You can trade it in, but you're going to be way underwater because you still are responsible for that difference in whatever the value of the car is today. 2, you're going to have to pay some acquisition costs. It's normally a down payment, $5,000, $3,000. You're going to try to get money out of pocket. That is negotiable. You can negotiate, and a lot of places do incentives where they have 0 to drive leases, but make sure you negotiate that as low as possible. The second thing is the mileage. Sometimes people underestimate the amount of miles they get on a lease. You have to agree how many miles a year you're going to drive that vehicle. They start for Highline cars, you can get them as low as 2,000 miles a year. For most normal cars, you're looking anywhere between 8,000 to 15,000 miles a year. If you go over that mileage, you have to pay per mile. In most cases, it's anywhere from about 25 cents to about 35 cents a mile if you go over. Also, you're responsible for the wear and tear. If you scratch the car, scratch up the rims, inside gets a little banged up. When you turn that car in, they're going to bang you for all of that stuff, and you're going to have to pay a disposition fee and penalties. And the worst part about it is most places when you turn the car in, you have no idea what that amount is till after they take the car away, which is dreadful. Now, there are some major advantages to leasing I want to talk about. Number one is the tax advantage. If you are self-employed or have a business, if you're an Uber driver, anything like that, and you use your car for work, you can write off the entire amount of the lease and not have to track mileage if you do it that way. Again, I'm not a CPA, so make sure that stands with your CPA. But if you're using a car exclusively for business, you can write off the entire amount of the lease. Now, me personally, I have a car that I lease for my real estate business, and I drive to appointments and things like that. But I also have other vehicles that I drive for other things. So I can always justify the fact that I'm driving those cars just for work, which is great. Now, at the end of a lease, you have a couple of options. You can turn the vehicle in back to the dealership, but you're going to have to look out because they're going to try to ding you for things like mileage, wear on the tires, all of those things you're going to have to pay for disposition. But here's the magic of leasing. Let's say when you lease the car, the dealership or the finance company accidentally estimated the price of the end lease really, really low. Like they said, the car is only going to be worth like $10,000. Well, before you go to turn a lease in, I always recommend taking it to CarMax, taking it to one of those places where they, we'll put a number and buy your car even if we don't buy yours, whatever. Have them give you a number because say the end value of your lease is $10,000. That's what they estimated at. But you take it to CarMax and they're like, we'll buy your car right now for $12,000. They'll take the car. You have no disposition fees, and they'll write you a check for $2,000. So in the end of a lot of leases, if the lease company is estimated low at the end, you can make money and get money back at the end of your lease. Now, obviously, if they have estimated high and the car is worth less, you want to just give it back. Some things that I would also recommend about leasing is if you want to get your feet wet with it and just kind of take a look, there's some great sites out there, Lease Traders, Swap a Lease, where you can actually go on those sites and take over other people's leases that have a short amount of time left. Now, the advantage with these things are, in some cases, some of these people really want out of these cars and they'll offer you cash incentives to take over the lease. For example, let's say their payment was $800 a month on a lease, but they really want out. Well, they'll throw a $5,000 incentive on that So now the effective lease payment drops down to like $600 a month. So you get the rest of their lease, which might be short, 8, 10, 12 months. You check the miles, might be, you can drive 10, 11,000 miles over that 10 months, and your payment is much, much less. So that's a great opportunity as well in the lease space. But again, if at all possible, unless you have a business, don't try to get a nicer car than you can afford by leasing. Just go buy one that you can get. Well, I hope you guys like this. This is Wish You Had Dad. Please make sure you like and subscribe where you get life advice that's twice as nice. And like your mom always said, make good choices.